My name is B. I've been with my girlfriend for a little over 6 months. Her name is My Night. Her name means girl of the night. Let's just call her Mai in this story. Mai and I live in separate village. From my village to hers take several hours by foot. During that time in Laos, young men don't date the girls in their village because those girls are considered as sisters. For some strange reason, young men during that time also feel embarrassed if they're dating girls within their own village. Not sure why. Anyway, I grew up during wartime. As a young man, I have to protect my people. Before going back to the battlefield, I've made a promise to Mai that when I come back, I'll take her to be my wife. Therefore, I want her to avoid talking to other men and for her to wait until I return. She told me that as long as I don't lie to her, as long as I keep my word, then she will wait for me no matter what. I told her that I will never lie to her, and that I promise I'll take her to be my wife when I return to her village the next time. After 4 months of being away, I returned from the battlefield. Instead of going to our house to see my parents first, I go straight to my girlfriend's village. I miss her so much after being away for so long. When I got to the edge of my girlfriend's village, the sun begins to set. From afar, I saw her going in and out of their house. It looks like she was feeding the chickens in the garden next to their house. I waited at the edge of the village until it's dark before going over to see her. Side note, during this time, young men would wait until it's completely dark before going over to talk to their girlfriend. Usually, they will wait until it's bedtime to go talk to their girlfriend. For those of you who don't understand life in the Hmong village during that time, young lovers usually talk through the woven bamboo wall of the girl's bedroom. The guy would be outside while the girl is inside. Then they would talk through the thin bamboo wall. That's why most young men during that time would wait until bedtime to go talk to their girlfriend through the wall of her bedroom. Back to the story. Once it gets really dark in the village, I noticed that it's somewhat strange. It's just way too quiet that night. I also don't see anyone lighting candles inside their house. Usually you can see some candle lights through the tiny gap and holes of the bamboo walls of every house. But every house in the village is just dark. I thought maybe I've been away for a bit too long. Maybe villagers are sleeping earlier than usual or something. From afar, I can see that there's a bit of candlelight inside my girlfriend's house. I can see as if she was walking around, sweeping the floor of their house. After a while, she put out the candle and it was completely dark inside their house. That means it's bedtime. I was happy. I can't wait to hear her sweet voice. I can't wait to talk to her until the early morning. My plan is to have her come out before dawn and take her with me to my parents' house and marry her there. I waited for a little bit before walking over to their house. When I got to the wall where her bed is, I knocked on it lightly. Then I said, "Mai, I'm back. Are you still awake?" She replied, "You know I've been waiting for you every night." Then I heard her weeping from inside her bedroom. I told her not to cry because this time, I'm going to take her to be my wife as promised. After talking to Mai for a while, I asked her how come their village is so dark. It is as if no one lives in the village anymore. She said, "Maybe you have been away for a few months and you forgot that it's harvest season. The village is dark because the villagers are sleeping at their farmhouse. My parents are at the farm also." When I heard Mai said that, my heart skipped a beat. I know that their farm is a few hours away by foot. That means her parents won't be back until the next day. After we talked for a little bit, I said to her that it's getting cold and if she doesn't mind, I want to spend some time with her inside their house. She said she'll open the door for me. I walked to the front door. I don't know why she didn't light the candle before she opens the door. When she opens the door, it was all dark inside. I noticed there's a strange smell. It smells like pickle and rotten flesh. Then she holds my hand. We walk in the dark to the middle of their living room where the fire pit is. We sat down on a chair by the fire pit. It's very dark and cold inside their house, so I take my matchbox out of my pocket, and she asked me what I'm doing. I told her that it's very cold and I'm just trying to start a fire for us. She said, "No, don't. I'm a good daughter. I don't want the villager to see that I'm inviting my boyfriend inside when my parents are not home. If you're cold, then let's go to my bedroom. We can share my blanket." Mai holds my hand and guides me to her bedroom. I noticed that her hand is so cold. It was so strange. Her bed sheet and blanket feels kind of wet and sticky. I also feel something like spider webs on the side of her bed. This is very strange. I'm starting to question myself whether or not the person next to me is actually my girlfriend, or if she's actually a living person. I've been in the dark with her all this time. I need to at least start a fire at the fire pit and see for myself what's going on. Then I said to her, "Hey, Mai, you said the villagers are at the farm, so can we at least start a fire at the fire pit to keep the house warm? It's very cold tonight." She didn't say the word, so I got up, put on my shoes, and walked out of her bedroom into the living room. On my way to the fire pit, my right foot tripped over something. I bent down to get a touch of what that thing is, and it feels like some bamboos that are tied together. This further confirmed to me that the person I'm with is not a living person. The only few times Hmong people would tie bamboo together is when they needed to carry a corpse. I found my way to their fire pit in the living room. I sat on the chair and took the matchbox out of my pocket. As I was lighting a match, the quick sparks from the match allows me to see my surrounding. I see a Hmong funeral drum on one side of the corner. I was already scared, but I need to pretend that everything is okay. Once I got a little fire going in the fire pit, I see a rope nearby. I guess that's the same rope that was used to tie the bamboo together. Then Mai came and sat next to me. I did not turn to look at her, but from the corner of my eyes, I can see her messy hairs. Her face appears to be a bluish color. As the fire grew bigger, she put the fire out by spitting blood into the fire pit. After seeing this, I was just sitting there in disbelief. I thought to myself, maybe she died when I was gone. I just sat there, frozen in fear. I don't know what to do. I don't want her to know that I've already realized that she's dead. Maybe she's the reason why her village is so dark, because everyone left. I was thinking to myself that I will need to come up with something to get away from her and the village. Then I said to her, "Hey, Mai, I need to go outside to pee. I can't hold it anymore." She told me to go to the corner of their house instead of going outside, but I told her that I can't pee inside their house. Then she said, "I know that you saw me earlier, and I know you're just trying to get away." I told her that I'm not trying to get away and that I'm still keeping my promise to her. Then I grab the rope nearby and tell her to hold on to one end of the rope. I tie the other end of the rope around my waist. I tell her that if I take too long, just pull me back inside. She said okay. I walk outside and turn to the side of the house where there was a mango tree. I untie the part of the rope around my waist and try to tie it onto my water bottle. Then I felt her start yanking on the rope and tell me to hurry up. I said, "It's hard to pee when you're watching me." She said she's not watching. Once she said this, I quickly tied the rope to my water bottle and then let it hang on a tree branch. Then I opened the cap of my water bottle a tiny bit and let the water drip onto the ground. I did this to make her think that I was still peeing. Once the water started dripping onto the ground, I start running away from her house and the village. Once the water stops dripping and the water bottle is empty, I yanked the rope back and only an empty water bottle came flying through the door. She then realized that I've lied and did not keep my promise. She stormed out of the house and started chasing after me. As I run through the dirt path which leads to my village, I can hear Mai calling for me from behind. "B, why are you running away from me? B, wait for me. I thought you want to take me to be your wife." Every time I look back, I can see her running after me. She keeps running after me and calling for me to wait. When I got closer to our village, I can no longer hear her calling. When I look back, I don't see her anymore. Maybe she stopped following me because it's almost dawn. Once I got to our village, I run all the way to our house and start banging on the door. My father opens the door and was surprised to see me so scared. Just then, all of the dogs in our village start barking loudly. I quickly got inside our house and closed the door. My father sat me down by our fire pit and asked me what happened. I was still trying to catch my breath, but I managed to tell him that I went over to my girlfriend's village. I wasn't able to say much, but my father already knows what happened. He started doing some shaman magic on a red string and tied the string to my right wrist to protect me from evil spirits. Right after that, we heard someone walking around our house and sniffing on our walls and said, "You promised. You promised. You promised." That was Mai. She was weeping as she looks around for me in our village. When the sun rises, she walks away into the edge of our village where the forest is and disappears. That morning, my parents told me that they were just waiting for me to return from my military duty so they can tell me not to go to my girlfriend's village. This is what my father told me. He said, "After you left, your girlfriend became sick. She told her parents that no matter what happened to her, she will wait for you." Her parents thought that she was only joking. They thought that she will eventually get better, but she actually got very sick and died. There was no issue during her funeral. However, on the last day before they carry her out to the graveyard, strange things start happening. Usually it only takes 4 men at the most to carry a corpse, but she seemed so heavy that day. It actually took 8 men to lift her off the floor. When they got to the door, her arms spread out to hold the 2 sides of the door and wouldn't let them carry her out. After seeing this, they placed her back inside the house. Everyone in the village, including her parents, believed that maybe her body is being possessed by an evil spirit. They knew that she will rise back up, so everyone left the village. On that day, my father did a shaman ritual and changed my name from B to Sai. The reason for the name change was because some evil spirits can hear very well, but they're blind. Changing my name will prevent mine from knowing my location. As long as nobody calls me by my old name, mine won't be able to know where I'm at. After my father did the name change shaman ritual, he told me to stay inside for at least a month before I can go outside again. After a few months, I was allowed to go outside again. By this time, the memories of my chasing me was fading. One day, as the sun begins to set, some kids in our village asked me to help them get some lychee fruits from the edge of our village. Since I wasn't doing anything, I decided to help them out. When we got there, I climbed the tree all the way close to the top where there's a lot of lychee fruits. I start grabbing some fruits from the tree branches and drop them down for the kids. One of the kids then said, "Brother B, there are some fruits on this side too." He actually called me by my old name. Instead of calling me Brother Sai, he called me Brother B. But I guess it's okay. It's already been a few months anyway. I don't think mine still hangs around our village. When I got to the branch that the kid was talking about earlier, I realized that it's a smaller branch and probably won't be able to support my weight. So I just hold onto the branch and start shaking it. As more lychee fruits falls onto the ground, I said, "Is that enough or should I get more?" I did not hear anyone answering me, so I looked down and all the kids were gone. But Mai was standing underneath the tree and she was looking up at me smiling. Then she said, "If you don't come down, I'm coming up there." As she begins to climb the tree, I jumped down onto the ground and fractured my right leg. Then I saw her jump back down. She started walking towards me smiling. I was trying to crawl away, but she grasped my legs with her sharp fingernails. Then she opens her mouth and